Hi, I'm Lorna Slater, co-leader of the Scottish Green Party.
And I'm Elaine Gunn, um, member since 2014 and really just become active in the last month or so, I suppose.
And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, Elaine. What was it that made you join the Green Party in the first place? And what has made you suddenly get so active in the last month or so?
Well, I joined in 2014 in the run up to the first independence referendum. I was. I was a real, I mean, my friend Sean calls me a political dunce. Before then, I paid no attention to politics. I probably couldn't have told you who the Prime Minister was at several points in time. And I just didn't get why it was important. And when the independence referendum came along, I was like, okay, so this vote actually means something. This is something where my vote will count because, I had been raised in a very cynical household about politics where, we felt like our votes really didn't count. It just went down into the pot at Westminster and got completely diluted. And with first past the post, it just all felt a bit meaningless to me. But this one came along and I thought, oh no, God, I'm going to have to do some reading about this because it's actually important. I'm really going to have to think about this because I was originally quite pro-union. And but I've been really wrong about stuff in the past before, and I wanted to challenge my beliefs and give a bit of thought to what actually might be the case if we were to become independent. And that just set me down a real rabbit hole of, oh my gosh, how did I not realise this was also important before? In the run up to the referendum, I was feeling pretty ashamed of myself for completely not paying attention to anything that was important. And I decided to join a political party. And at the time, I felt that the Greens were quite a good match because I was listening to what folk were saying on the television. And it just seemed to make sense. It kind of connected with me in a way. So that was as scientific as the process of picking a party got for me at the time.
And tell us a bit about yourself, Elaine. What kind of person joins a political party? It's something that, as a member myself, we often worry about because we know that something like only 3% of the whole country is a member of a political party. And we worry that as party members, we're not normal people in some way. And we sort of go, oh gosh, but what if voters think differently than we do? So tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, so yeah, I was pretty traditional and pretty normal. Until quite recently, I suppose. I mean, I'm still really normal, I think, the process of joining a political party really coincided with me with a process of kind of figuring out who I wanted to be. Because I had always lived my life very much in line with the expectations of other people. What did my parents want me to be? What did society expect me to be? And since I had my children, I've got 3 kids. I've got 3 wee boys who are still quite young. The eldest is 9. Since I had them, that kind of ran in parallel with my political awakening, was my awakening to the issues that face, well, particularly women and basically people who aren't straight white males. That really opened my eyes to the challenges that I had always faced growing up, trying to work, trying to hold down a career, trying to operate in the world, that I had been up until then completely unaware of. And it took becoming a mother for me to realise just how much harder certain people have to work to exist in society in a way that society deems normal. So, yeah, what kind of person joins a political party? I don't know, somebody who just wants to make a bit of a difference. I've always held this belief that if you aren't prepared to do something to change something that you don't like, you kind of forfeit your right to whinge about it. And I'm not ready to stop whinging about politics.
Brilliant. And you said a little bit about why you chose the Green Party, that it was sort of almost an instinct with you, that they seem to align best with you. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Why do you think joining the Greens is an important thing to do? Why has it been important for you?
Well, for me, it's early days yet. As I said, I've not been very active until the last month or so. And what I've found since I became active is that I'm meeting people who feel a bit like my tribe. I'm finding that I meet loads of really like-minded, passionate people. And that feels really nice because I've been such an oddball in my social circle, in my kind of in my environment. I'm the one who, pays attention to politics. I'm the one who gets interested in the big issues. I feel like I've got a lot of minority views on a lot of things like feminism. I've got a big thing about the way women are treated in terms of pregnancy and childbirth, but they're all very minority views. For me, meeting people who share the views that I have and no longer feeling like a minority in an environment has been a massive boost for my morale, because, when you hold views that are not necessarily the mainstream, it can feel really lonely. It can feel properly lonely, and, you start to think, wow, am I really just a weirdo? And if that's the case, then fair enough. I'm ready to own my weirdness, because I've found a group of people who really celebrate that. I keep, coming up with ideas and thinking of things and waiting for somebody to reel me in and to tell me to stop being ridiculous, as has happened in every single traditional job I've ever held. And it just hasn't happened. And that makes me feel great, because I feel like I've got a lot to offer. And it's wonderful that that's being welcomed with open arms. So that's really what I'm getting out of being a member of the Greens at the moment.
And you said in the last month you've gotten really active, and I've seen the work you've been doing, so I don't want to spoiler it, but you've been doing loads of work for us behind the scenes. You kind of leapt onto the scene a month ago and really got stuck in. What was it? What changed? Why now? Why is it important for, all of us to be doing this now?
Well, it's a funny story, and there's a lot of context around it that I won't bore you with, but in the background, I've been, like I said earlier, I've been going through a process of personal change and growth in the last few years. I don't think I would have been ready to jump in the way I have done until now. I think the time has just come when I'm ready. What actually sparked it was, again, another very basic instinctual decision. It was 6:30 in the morning during summer holidays, and I'd had the kids at home for that whole 6 weeks, and I was pretty shattered. And one morning, my middle son kind of woke me and my husband up by standing and right in our faces and going, "It's my turn on the telly, and Lewis won't let me go on the telly, and it's this is terrible." And it's just a huge crisis at 6:30 in the morning, and I just woke up and I just thought, oh no, not this again. So I was like, right, okay, I'll deal with this. Went down the stairs, 6:30 in the morning, no coffee, no breakfast, in my jammies, hair all over the place. And I said, right, kids, this has been going on for long enough. We're going to sit here and we're going to come up with a rota, and we're going to sort out who's watching what on the telly, and we're not going to have this argument again, okay, because it is tiring and it's 6:30 in the morning, and I know you can do without it as much as I can. So we sat there for 45 minutes and we negotiated. I mean, these kids are like, 6, 8, and 9, and they're all boys, and they're all like massively entitled because that's the age they are. We sat there and negotiated for 45 minutes, and we tossed coins, and we made concessions, and we influenced each other. People put through ideas, they were shot down, and eventually, after 45 minutes, we had a rota that everybody was happy with, and that was future-proof and that would do. And I just finished it off. And honestly, I mean, and in my house, and I'm sure in many other houses where there are 3 children under 10, it was astonishing that we got through this without tears or tantrums, not least from me, never mind them. And I went through to the kitchen after we were finished, and my husband had come down the stairs whilst it was all going on. And I just turned around to him and I said, "Do you know what? Honestly, I think I should be negotiating Brexit, because if I can deal with that at this time in the morning, after 6 weeks of having these children every day, what else could possibly faze me?" And the words were hardly out of my mouth, but my iPhone went bing, and there was an email from the Green Party saying, "We need women to stand as candidates for Holyrood." And I was like, well, obviously that's what I should be doing. And I got in touch that same day, and it's basically just been snowballing since then.
I love that story. That's brilliant. So I think something I take from that definitely is that politics is for everybody. The kind of skills we need in politics are exactly those: negotiation, compromise, people skills, that just getting up at 6:30 in the morning, getting on with stuff, which is brilliant. I'm so glad you've joined the party. You're such an asset to us. Something that all political parties suffer from, and definitely our parliaments and councils suffer from, is an overrepresentation of men. The last podcast I did was with Alice Mumford, where we spoke about the overrepresentation of men. What are your views on why it's important, particularly for women, to get active in politics and to join political parties?
We can't change the system unless we're in it. That's basically where I am. It's all very well complaining about the lack of women and the lack of representation in political parties, in parliament, but unless we actually put ourselves forward, we're not going to improve it. And it's another one of these things where you can complain about something, but if you're not prepared to then take the next step and go ahead and try and change it yourself, there's really very little else you can do but complain, and living in complaint and blame is just not fun and not healthy. So I think for women, it's really important that we overcome this internal critic that we carry around that tells us that we're not good enough to do this, or that there are all sorts of reasons that we can't be doing this. What if everybody hates me? What if I make a mess of things? What if I make mistakes? And that's been, a large part of the stuff that I've been dealing with personally in the last couple of years has been coming to terms with that internal critic. Where did it come from? How did I internalize this voice that tells me that I'm not good enough to do these things, when I know perfectly well that the feedback I've had from every job I've ever had is that I am an exceptionally efficient, personable, good member of staff. So, the feedback is there. It's just that we choose to listen to the stuff that's not good rather than believe the stuff that is extremely good. So, in the last couple of years, I've really been focusing on trying to believe the people who tell me that I'm awesome. Because, people do say that from time to time, and it's a lovely thing to hear. And it used to make me feel really uncomfortable. I used to be like, oh no, I'm just doing my best in my little corner here. But no, I think as women, there's only so much that we can expect men to do in terms of giving way to us voluntarily. There's an element of us being ready to step up and take our representation, rather than waiting for somebody to give it to us, because I don't think anybody has ever given away power just because somebody said it would be a nice thing to do.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Yeah. So you have masterminded a social media campaign for the Scottish Greens Women's Network, which I love. I'll let you tell us a bit more about this.
Okay, so the Scottish Greens Women's Network Heroes campaign, which I'm really excited about as well. This is one of those things that I was talking about where I kept expecting people to say, "Stop it, Elaine, you're being ridiculous." But actually, it's been really good fun, and especially for me as a new member, to get to know all the women candidates on a really quite a personal level has been really, really fun. So this campaign was all about giving each woman, non-binary candidate, a superhero alter ego. And the aim of it was kind of both external facing and internal facing. Externally, obviously, we need to raise our profiles. The internal voting to select candidates for Holyrood elections are coming up. In fact, they're now open. And we all need to be doing something that makes us memorable, that makes us stand out, that makes people want to vote for us. It was a day we were on the Women's Network on Slack, and there was a day when I had been really struggling with my candidate statement and kind of making amendments, asking for feedback, not really feeling great about it, agonising over the fact that it wasn't completely perfect, as I do. And I ended up deciding to blow off a bit of steam and writing a true candidate statement and sharing it for just a bit of a laugh and to blow off some steam. And it was really good fun,
What did it say?
It was just stuff like, can negotiate with toddlers. Obviously, that's very relevant in politics. Likely to be better than some bloke who's been in there for 50 years just because his dad gave them a position. Something, just stuff that's true and a little bit funny and stuff that people can make a bit of an emotional connection with. And I knew that writing a true candidate statement was going to get me absolutely nowhere in terms of submitting my formal nomination. But it did lead me on to, well, there are all these truths about the women and non-binary candidates. There are all these amazing skills that we all have that we will be hiding to a certain extent because we're conditioned to do that. We're not conditioned to believe we're awesome and efficient and competent. We just show up and do the best we can and then go home and focus on the one little thing that we got wrong. So externally, it was a way of raising the profile of everybody by giving them a superhero alter ego and a little graphic that goes through in kind of slightly light-hearted tone all the superpowers they have. Internally, it was to develop the confidence of the people in the Women's Network who are putting themselves forward, all of whom were struggling at certain times with talking about what they're good at, what would make them good at the role of MSP, and struggling with that imposter syndrome, that internal critic. And I thought, okay, so if we learn to start thinking of ourselves as superheroes and owning our strengths in a really fun, non-threatening way, that is only going to improve how we come across and how people perceive us. Because, you know, I mean, this is another thing that I've learned. If you start believing the good things about yourself, other people will start to see them more. And so, yeah, that's the Superheroes campaign.
Which I'm very excited to say will be launching on Friday. So keep an eye on your social media. It will be hashtagging #SGPWN Heroes, and we'll be launching that on Friday. So look forward to that. Thank you so much for your time today, Elaine. It's been just brilliant speaking with you.
You're welcome.